everybody. Hello, this is Rory Francis, and you are watching another segment of Igniting American Manufacturing. And I have to tell you, I am super excited about our guest today. He's a manufacturing advocate, a CNC subject matter expert. He's got about 150,000 followers on LinkedIn. He's a world traveler. He's traveling all the time, 300 plus days. He's very dynamic. He's very passionate. He has a big message and a big voice. He's a big gun. I'd like to welcome Tony Gunn.
Well done, adding that big gun part in there, Rory. And good to see you. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Well, Tony, we know a lot of the same people, and we kind of move in similar circles. And I'm kind of more in building factories, and you're more in a machine shop. But they touch each other, and we do know a lot of the same people, and we're facing the same problems and same issues, and some of the same successes as well. I mentioned it. You're a world traveler, and that you've been many places. What? Tell us where you've been for the past. Let's not get too last 45, 60 days. Where you been, Tony? What have you been doing?
Yeah, Roy, I definitely want to talk about that because it's been a nonstop adventure. It's been exciting. But I'd like to step back even. Some of the audience doesn't realize that even though I've been extremely popular on social media over the last few years, being on the news media side of things, I've actually been traveling the world about 300 days a year for the last 12 years and been to over 80 countries. So although the exhaustion and the intensity exists during every trip, it seems like, it is important that this has become a balance and a lifestyle at this point, coming from a machine shop, being an international consultant, and then sliding over to the media side of things. And just since January, Rory, to go back to your question, January 2nd, I was in Mexico. Then I bounced over to India. Then I jumped over to Timtos in Taiwan. Then I landed in Germany and then did a little bit of work in Switzerland before heading back to the U.S. and doing some trade shows here in the U.S. And then in just another week I'm going to be headed down to Brazil. Then I'm back over to Germany and Czech Republic and then Germany again. I mean, the list goes on and on. And it's an adventure all the time. And I really enjoy every aspect of bringing these manufacturing stories to life.
Well, Tony and I talk about this all the time. Manufacturing and innovation, at no point in mankind's history have we been innovating and building at the pace we are right now in semiconductor, EV, battery, the AI and data centers and all this nanocell technology. The innovation curve is just way up there. All the places you mentioned, I've been to, and I've lived out of a suitcase, so I've experienced that. I actually, and I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I could talk to you about so many different things, and I think we could probably go for hours. We won't do that to our listeners. But and I talk to a lot of folks in our space about similar things. I want to take a little different tack. The one thing about everybody knows about Tony Gunn is you're passionate about and believe in what you do. You put something on LinkedIn on Easter that really touched me, and it resonates. It's been resonating with me ever since. I actually want to read it though, and it touches on giving back and what our purpose. And I think our purpose is very similar, and then ultimately our family. So I'm going to read this, and it talks a little bit about travel. I'm going to start with late nights, long flights, and the love that fuels it all. It's not just about the grind. It never really was. It's not just the long hours, the late night flights, the check-ins at hotels that start to all look the same. It's not the food. It's definitely not the food. The jet lag, the missed birthdays. I experienced some of this, Tony. Or the relentless loop of airports, shop floors, and red-eye emails. Those are just details. The reasons are deeper. We do this for service. We do this for others, for impact, for the smile of a struggling shop that turns a corner, for the text that says, hey, we finally hit those numbers. Good stuff. We do this because someone out there is fighting to keep their business alive. Maybe, just maybe, something we say or do or teach gives them the edge to keep going. But more than anything, we do this for our families. We do this for our kids, whose eyes light up when we walk in the door, even if it's after dark. when we're running on fumes and a gas station sandwich. Man, I've had some of those. We do this so they feel it right now. Sorry, don't make me laugh, Tony.
Sorry, buddy. It's
Yeah.
well, we empathize, right? We can feel it.
Yeah, I could definitely feel it. Some days more than others. We do this. I'll get through this now. We do this so they can chase their dreams a little further than we could. So they can grow up watching grit in real time. So they know that success isn't handed down. It's earned one choice at a time. We do this so that they know that what hard work looks like. So they'll see what sacrifice feels like. So they'll understand that being present doesn't always mean being there, but being committed always means showing up. We do this not because we're addicted to work, but because we believe in what's being built. We believe in excellence, kindness, and purpose. We believe that machines can change the world, but people are what make it worth changing. We spend the hours, we live on the road, we stay hungry, we keep learning. We carry the weight of expectations, and we do it with pride. Because at the end of it, we're not just building businesses, we're building a future. One where our kids grow up not just chasing money, but chasing meaning. One where they're not just successful, but good humans, kind, curious, driven, and compassionate. Why we do this? That's what it's all about. Happy Easter. And that was from you, posted just a couple of days ago. Tony, it's the whole premise of this show. We're talking about what, purpose, and I want you to just kind of elaborate and why you wrote that, and some of the, that note, that text you got there. Maybe you can share a tidbit about, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it really, really touched me. So.
Thank you so much for reading it, and I'm very happy it resonated with you, and I hope it did for a lot of people. According to the likes and comments and reshares, I believe it is resonating with a good amount of people, and for different reasons, right? I think you and I can chuckle over some of those struggles of red eye emails and naps on planes and gas station sandwiches and lack of sleep and the cost of mental health and physical health and emotional health that goes into an potentially exhausting schedule. And I think some people connect with the aspect of why we do this for our families. Some of us probably put in more hours to take care of those we love than we'd prefer. We prefer to maybe be on vacation, sitting on the beach or hanging out in the mountains. And we dedicate a lot of time to work to take care of those we love. And I think that some people resonate with that post because of being of service. There's a lot of folks out there that are just really good humans, and we're fortunate enough in manufacturing to be surrounded by a lot of them. When we think about manufacturing, and I've said this a million times, I'm going to say it a million more, it moves the world around us. It's everything. If we didn't have manufacturing, and imagine if today we took away everything from the entire world that was manufactured because they didn't respect how it was made, we'd be in the woods, lost, without clothes. It's an infinite struggle when we think about it, but we're trying to gain the respect to make it a more visible industry. So for me, I made that post for multiple reasons. The young lady in that picture, that's my daughter from the post. She's 13 now. It's a little bit older of a picture because she prefers that I don't share real-time photos. I respect her, and oftentimes, every time I ask her, hey, is this okay with me for me to share for you? And she'll approve or disapprove. And sometimes I get lucky, like in this one. And she's 13 years old now. And I've mentioned to you before that I've been on the road for 12 or 13 years. So her entire life I've been on the road. So for me, it's a dedication to something I believe in, because I believe in manufacturing, and my heart thrives and I'm happiest when I'm of service to others and helping people regardless of where I am. I'm grateful that it's manufacturing and I can put my passion into that, but just being of service is the most important. And also, I want her to know, and I want my wife to know, that they're very much cared about. When I'm on the road this much, I want them to be with me, and I want to be with them. And I want them to see that this hard work is for a better future, for something more than what I had growing up. I grew up on food stamps and powdered milk and struggle and hand-me-down clothes and lots of excitement, but very little hope, or lots of hope, but very little action, let's say. It was a tough childhood, not a lot of opportunity, and I didn't foresee where I am today in my younger self. And I'm just extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here. And part of my, I guess, intention of this dedication to what we do while combining it with service is to bring up a young lady that can see opportunity, that can feel opportunity, and that I just want to make a better human than I was as a young man. So that's kind of the premise of all of it. It's really, as you read it, it's long, and I hope people have paid attention to it. But there's a lot of different areas to that chessboard or Rubik's cube or onion, if you say, to dive into on that post.
Well, you posted something the following day and about your personal journey, and I don't know if we're gonna have time to read it all. It is long, but it's extremely well written, and it goes back, to purpose, and it talks a little bit about you personally, and you mentioned manufacturing, how important it is, and if it's not grown, if it's not organic, it's manufactured. And life wouldn't exist the way it is today. And I don't think people realize that when you walk in a room and hit a light switch, and look around the room, what you're actually looking at. You're looking at stuff that's all been manufactured, right? And yet manufacturing suffers. It's not glamorous. It's not glamorous to a lot of people. It's not sexy, right? And Harry Moser, who's a big voice in Reshore, talks about let's make manufacturing cool again. But we need to make it cool again because we need to get people in it. We actually have this huge, and I'm preaching to the choir here. According to Deloitte, 3.8 million worker deficit by 2033, and so we need to get people in this. We need to entice them. So we need to make it a little sexy. But here's an opportunity for that young person. There's a stigma about my son's going to be a doctor, my son's going to be a lawyer, my son's going to be go into computer science, my son's going to serve an apprenticeship. And when you say that, people get a different look. So those CNC operators, those apprentice carpenters, those apprentice electricians, plumbers that build these facilities, we're lacking there. But there's opportunity for a lot of folks that they don't the college career. 4-year track, they don't have the wherewithal or the grades or the money or, social economic, a lot of different reasons, and Harry Moser just, is working on a series right now from apprentice to C-suite, and those success stories, those people who started off with a tool belt on and made it up to management. Your story, and you share it very openly about your struggles, in your early 20s and finding your place and your success. Can you share a little bit about, yourself personally and how you got here? Because I think it's an incredible story, and you can articulate it a lot better than I can. So I'm going to shut up. Maybe answer that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. You've done such an amazing job, and I'm not sure how many hours you have available to go over this story. So I think I'm going to have to give the summarized version. Yeah, as I said in the last question, not a whole lot of opportunity where I grew up, and not a whole lot of hope other than sports. Honestly, Rory, if I'm going to go back to my childhood days I was happy. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of really great things. So I don't want this to just be a pity party at all. I grew up in the forest. I grew up in the woods on 1,000 acres. I had a soccer field that was by no means perfect, but with all the space, why not turn it into a soccer field? And growing up, my dad was always like, if you're good enough at soccer, school and grades don't matter. And I took that to heart. I tried to be the best soccer player ever. And I was to a certain degree and a certain level. I ended up dropping out of high school my junior year of high school because I wasn't able to play soccer. I didn't pass enough classes. I failed epically. And through a great series of events that would take for a much longer story, I did end up graduating on time. But due to my dropout in summer school, I ended up graduating with a 1.26 high school GPA. And although I was highly recruited to play soccer at some of the best universities across the country, The grades weren't there, and so I went to a junior college. In junior college, I was the sixth leading scorer in the nation my freshman year. So in my head, soccer was key. Only it wasn't, because I wasn't good enough. So at that point, I had to get a job. I got kicked out of 3 colleges in about a 3-month span because of my academic probation and being. I'm not great at sitting still. If you can't tell, obviously, from this podcast, I mean, moving around, and ever seen me on camera with MTDCNC or the gun show or any of that, I can't stop moving. So sitting in a classroom, memorizing, repeating, and not asking a ton of questions, because I always want to learn something new, and I always question everything because I'm a little bit of a skeptic as well. Like, okay, show me what's really happening in history class. So it's kind of funny like that. So I got kicked out of 3 colleges, and I needed to find work. So, I mean, I've done the McDonald's thing. I've done the Pizza Hut thing. I went door to door as a salesman for a little while. I did not love that job. I was a lifeguard for a long time, considered actually pursuing that on some of the biggest beaches around the world because I enjoyed that job as a lifeguard. But ultimately, I needed to become an adult and find a way to get insurance and benefits. And it just so happened to be through some friends that was a manufacturing facility. And so in 2000, I joined a precious metals metalworking manufacturing company. I knew zero about manufacturing. I'm definitely that cliche kid who didn't have any of that. We had agriculture. We had small shop for like engines and things like that. We had horticulture, but we didn't have a machine shop. I didn't know what a CNC was. I think we had maybe a little bit of woodworking. So I knew what a bandsaw was and, how to do a drill press. But as a general rule, I didn't know about manufacturing, right? So I jumped into this machine shop, precious metals, melting down the material. And I started on the most basic machine so I wouldn't hurt myself because I knew nothing. And it was, a hydraulic press that punched holes in things, right? So from there, I wanted to learn, same curiosity, same inquisitiveness. And within 6 years, I was, running a department, anniversary band department. I had 6 patents we were doing wedding bands and anniversary bands. I was considered top 5% in the world of understanding how to machine precious metals. From there, I moved into your standard steels and titaniums, Inconels, brass, aluminum. And from there, I moved into the woodworking field. So for 12 years as a machinist, I went to 3 major shops and grew as far as I could within those shops and decided I wanted to do something more. So that was when I packed my bags from Virginia and Washington, D.C., drove down to Florida and took a job that evolved into, it started as a machinist, but evolved into an international consultant role that took me to about 40 or 50 countries. And my job was to build distributorships, understand how business is done around the world, and then give keynotes and symposiums on helping people improve their shops and their factories, because I was certified in 6 Sigma. I think we're calling it 6S now, not 5S, lean manufacturing, and understood how to do micro machining down to, a couple thousandths diameter drills and end mills. And help people work some of the hardest materials and some of the most difficult diameters at RPMs they weren't used to. So a really great opportunity. And then from that, COVID hit. I went backpacking through Mexico to free my soul of the chaos and jumped into the media side of things, which is where we are today. But I've always been about service and wanting to help people. So I hope that wasn't too long.
No, and you brought the passion that everybody knows Tony Gunn for. And I appreciate that. I'm getting waved and I have to wrap it up. Tony, one quick question for you. You talked about your journey all the way through there, and it sounds like at some point, and maybe correct, that it resonated. You found your niche, and that's when you started to take off. And if that's just comment on that a little bit. I think that's important for young people to hear.
Yeah, that's a really great concept and question, Roy. It really is, because if I feel like, and I try to teach this to my daughter and to any keynotes or symposiums I give around the world, and people are asking about manufacturing in general and school versus trades or university versus trades. It really does come back to that, doesn't it, Rory? We have to be happy in what we do. And when we're happy, the world sees it. Our family sees it. Our friends see it. And we must fine tune that. We're not going to be great at something typically, unless you're a savant of some reason. But we're not going to be great at something from day one, but if it brings us joy, and I always really loved taking a piece of raw material and turning it into something of value. So that in itself was my first love. But then I realized as I opened my own natural healing company, Rory, and gave 100% of the profits to charity, to 14 different charities for the first couple of years, and did that for a while. And that was when I connected to giving back and connected to being of service, and said, how can I do that in my everyday life to make a little money and also support manufacturing? And then thanks to friends like we both have, like Harry Moser, as you mentioned, and Mr. Iverson, there is a massive skills gap. So how can I take my crazy personality, my love for manufacturing, and my background of actually making stuff and apply it to a world that needs to find it cool, sexy, and fun? It's a perfect storm and a perfect combination of shouting to the world how awesome manufacturing is, and that we can create whatever we want with the right mindset.
Tony, yeah, like I said, you brought the passion, and making manufacturing cool and sexy, and getting that message out is so important. You do such an excellent job at it. I could go on and I mean, I could sit here all day. They're waving at me over here. To wrap up, I've gone over my time. We're going to have you back, and it was really great having this conversation. You just bring a ton of energy, and thank you for all you do in advocating, and helping build a future for this country and for our young people. Thank you, Tony. Everybody, this is Rory Francis signing off. Thank you.